Weird, weird, weird. We've been saying it since the founding of the MeidasTouch network. This isn't Democrats, independents, Republicans anymore. This is pro-democracy versus WWE cosplay fascist weirdos that are now this MAGA movement. They have dangerous ideas. We shouldn't downplay how dangerous they are, but we should also mention how very, very weird they are. I mean, look, they had Hulk Hogan at the Republican National Convention basically introduced Donald Trump and he ripped off his shirt. He's like, the Hulkamania. It's like, what in the world is going on with these people? And then they pick shady Vance. Oh my gosh, we have so much to discuss. Also, Vice President Kamala Harris, she says, I'm going to still show up to that debate on September 10th on ABC News. If Donald Trump's unilaterally canceling debates, well, good for Donald Trump. I will debate an empty podium the same way Senator John Ossoff did. I will be there September 10th. Donald Trump, the chicken that he is, the coward that he is, doesn't have to show, but I'm going to show up and address the American people. I love that Vice President Kamala Harris's team is going on the offense. Meanwhile, the contrast between that and Vice President Harris's momentum to Donald Trump's weird, unhinged speeches that he keeps on giving each and every weekend. And finally, the whole country and the world is paying attention. I don't feel alone on my little island doing my coverage of these speeches anymore. People are getting it. You got Donald Trump out there talking about Hannibal Lecter saying, I hit the golf balls really hard. And he goes, I got a really good idea. I told Dana White, the head of UFC, what we need to do is start a fight club, a professional league where the UFC fighters attack the migrants in a mass deportation operation. People are like, what did you say? Donald Trump also said that if he were to be elected, and he said, Christians, he goes, Christians, you listening? I'm not a Christian, but here's the thing. If you want to vote for me, this will be the last time you have to vote. I'm going to fix elections so there won't ever be voting again in America if you vote for me just this last time. What? The fact, by the way, though, that that's not on page A1 of corporate media, I think tells you everything you need to know. But corporate media has become so irrelevant lately, and the people are truly getting what is going on. What is going on with Shady Vance? The new thing is he's Googling dolphins and women and monkey balls. We'll get into Shady Vance stuff. Also, in normal land, President Biden announced plans to reform the Supreme Court and to stop dictatorships. What a novel concept. That there shouldn't be absolute immunity, that the Supreme Court shouldn't be given carte blanche authority with life tenure to basically destroy our democratic norms. Also, the economic metrics are looking good, and Donald Trump's out there complaining now that OPEC is lowering their oil prices. Donald Trump wants us to suffer, and he's pissed off that President Biden has broke the OPEC cartel. Through a free market system, he's been able to stop OPEC from engaging in their inflation, their price inflation of oil. We'll get into it all here on the MeidasTouch Network. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. Let's get into it. Momentum on pro-democracy. Weird on Team MAGA.
So weird.
Happy Monday if you're watching us, and happy Tuesday if you are listening to us. It is so great to be here with the Meidas Mighty, and I am feeling the momentum myself. I know the folks out there are. A lot of hope, a lot of optimism. We went from doom scrolling to hope scrolling, and now I'm just super glad that folks are finally picking up. I mean, it was like we were on an island for a bit. When I say us, I mean us here hosting the show and you folks watching and listening to the podcast, when we would go, this isn't normal stuff, folks. This isn't normal stuff. This is just weird stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with political parties. This is just weird crap that we are seeing. And now to see that kind of messaging be mainstreamed and being talked about at the highest levels by Vice President Harris, by people like Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, it is so good. One of the things going back to the very early Meidas days that we used to say, and it's proven so true by these past few days, is that these authoritarian types, these people who view themselves as strongmen, they tend to like being considered strongmen. They tend to like being called fascist. They tend to like that fear that people have of them. What they cannot stand, what they don't like, and this is something that autocrats have hated throughout history, is they hate being mocked and made fun of and made to look weak. And Kamala Harris and this new messaging apparatus is making them look weak because they are weak and weird. And we are going to get into all of that on this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. Jordy, what's new, man?
Couldn't agree more, B. I'm just excited to get into the episode today, talking about a lot of weirdness from this political party that call themselves Republican and conservatives, which we all know that they are not conservatives. Ben, where are we leading off today, big bro?
Well, let's lead off with Donald Trump saying that if he is elected this time, there'll be no more elections. Seems like a pretty big deal to start off a show and a discussion of what's taking place with the threat of a perpetual authoritarian dictatorship in the United States. That's not exactly normal political discourse here. So Donald Trump gave a speech. He gave 3 speeches, one on Friday, and then he gave speeches over the weekend as well at a Bitcoin conference in Nashville, Tennessee, where he didn't even seem to have any clue what Bitcoin was. And the people who attended were like, all right, this guy's just a total moron and an idiot. And then Donald Trump went to Minnesota, where he's down anywhere between 5 and 10 points to President Kamala Harris. There's the article where people at the Bitcoin were like, I don't think he knows what Bitcoin even is. And what's he talking about? Trump's like, I'm going to give you so much electricity, you're not going to even know what to do with all of your electricity. Some of the stupidest stuff. But here Donald Trump was speaking at a Turning Points event. Now, just to get your MAGA weirdo groups, in check, the Turning Point USA, they're the ones who pass out the signs that say white boy summer. They're the ones who want to abolish MLK Day, and they're the ones who say that there shouldn't be black pilots. So that's where Donald Trump gave the following speech, where he says that there should be no more elections because he'll fix it all if he's voted into power this time. Christians, he says, Christians. He goes, I ain't a Christian. Listen up. Play this clip.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
We'll have it fixed so good that I won't even have to wave my tiny little hands anymore. It will be so good, there'll be no more democracy, everybody. Corporate media, you're not going to report on this, right? And it's like, what in the world?
In fact, when they do report on it, they try to always try to interpret his words in the best possible light. Oh, what he actually mean is he's going to repair the broken election system so that there's no issues right now. This is the same BS that led to January 6th, that led to him trying to overturn the election. And it's the same stuff that we are seeing right now in Venezuela with Maduro. It's the same exact language. So let's quit the rationalizing. Let's quit perhaps what he was actually talking. No, you don't have to interpret for him, okay? He says these things very clearly. He says them for a reason. He knows the message he's sending, and he knows what his plan is.
Yeah, so when I called him, deep. Quit giving him the benefit of the doubt. He said what he said. Those were his words. You don't have to do any more legwork than that. Just report on his words. Like at the minimum, that's what people just want. They just want the information. You don't have to then be the Trump translator. No, we all heard him. We heard what he said. That's it. Period. End of story.
When I call them WWE cosplay fascism, I do it very intentionally because it's weirder and in many ways like worse than even fascism, because Trump is a fascist fanboy. He looks up to Maduro and Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin and President Xi. He praises them in speeches. He's like, oh, they're at the top of the game. At the Republican National Convention a few weeks ago, Donald Trump was citing Maduro's crime statistics, which, by the way, are all false. Like the crime's going down there. And he goes, we're going to hold the next Republican National Convention in Venezuela. That's what Donald Trump said 2 weeks ago at the Republican National Convention. And part of the WWE cosplay fascism is that mixture with idiocracy as well, where Donald Trump goes on stage and then starts talking about his late great friend, the fictional cannibal who eats your brains, Hannibal Lecter. This is part of Donald Trump's stump speech to people, which is supposed to be about the policies you're going to deliver. Here's Donald Trump talking about the late, great Hannibal Lecter, everybody. Play the clip.
Prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. You know, they go crazy when I say the late, great Hannibal Lecter. Okay, they say, why would he mention Hannibal Lecter? He must be cognitively in trouble. No, these are real stories. Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lamb. He's a lovely man. He wants to have you for dinner. He'd like to have you for dinner.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch that in and of itself, that should be disqualifying. There should be no further discussion after that. Now, there's numerous other things about Donald Trump should be disqualifying, like he was found liable for sexual assault, like he's on tape bragging. We could hear his voice as he brags about sexually assaulting women. We hear him on tape saying he started beauty pageants so that he could inspect the naked girls without their consent. That should be disqualifying. It should be disqualifying that he says that Jeffrey Epstein is a great guy who likes girls on the younger side. That should be disqualifying. Or that he wished the lady who trafficked for Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, that he wished her well, or that he was on yachts with 14-year-old girls who men old enough to be their grandparents grinded on them as part of the look of the year competition that he threw. I mean, all of these things, the fact that he's on Epstein's list over and over, all of these things should be disqualifying. But I think it is important that maybe the corporate media focus on these things a little bit. And fortunately, with the momentum shifting now to Vice President Kamala Harris, it's not only exposing Trump, it's also exposing legacy corporate media for just their complete, I would just say, aiding and abetting of the both sides narrative, because there ain't no both sides at all. Let me show you this one as part of Donald Trump's speech as well. What does he talk about too? Because what do you want if you're a person right now and you're saying, okay, inflation's come down because Biden-Harris Inflation Reduction Act. Trump caused inflation by adding $8 trillion in debt. My 401k is up. Where was my toilet paper under Trump? So what are the policies that you're going to do to help? What kind of policies? And Donald Trump goes, I hit the crap out of golf balls. That's what he talks about at his speech. Play the clip.
And I can hit the crap out of the ball. I'm good. I shoot good scores. And when you win a club championship, that means you can play under pressure. You can ask a lot of the people up there, like Brett Baer. Brett Baer's a good golfer. Ask him, can Trump play? Ask a lot of the people, but...
Yes, Brett Baer. Oh, what I am wondering for the next 4 years... Can Trump play? I want to know, can they be a play? Could they play, please? I mean, what in the world are we talking about? And as I say, this is both dangerous and weird. And Governor Walz of Minnesota has been doing a great job, I think, calling out the weirdness and the weirdo factor of these MAGA Republicans. Watch Governor Walz. He's been going on all these shows. He's been great. Let's play the clip.
But these guys are just weird. That's who they are. So it isn't much else. Don't give them the power. Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes. Are they going to endanger the planet by not dealing with climate change? Yes. They're going to do all that. But don't lift these guys up like they're sometimes the heroes. Everybody in this room knows, I know it as a teacher, a bully has no self-confidence. A bully has no strength. They have nothing. The fascists depend on fear. The fascists depend on us going back. But we're not afraid of weird people. We're a little bit creeped out, but we're not afraid. But look, and then as you heard this, and one day ago, a poll came out and showed Kamala Harris up 10 points and Donald Trump getting his ass handed to him here in Minnesota. So, sorry. But he's here today in the state of hockey. to complete his trifecta. He lost in 16, he lost in 20, he loses in 24.
So
Gotta love that messaging. And then I'll just show you one other clip here, though. When Donald Trump tries to even articulate an issue like electricity. By the way, you want to talk about electricity? In the Republican-controlled state of Texas, what did Governor Greg Abbott do? He screwed up the electric grid so bad that they oftentimes lose their electricity frequently at key moments. And it's caused real issues. Many people have died because they're at a basic threshold. They're weirdos, and they're also just incompetent losers. They can't run things, and they constantly want power to run things because they're all sociopathic, malignant, narcissistic individuals who want to hoist their pathology on the rest of us who just want to go about our lives with our families in normalcy. So here's Trump talking about electricity. I've got to give you so much electricity. You ain't going to know what to do with all that electricity. Here, play this clip.
But we will be creating so much electricity that you'll be saying, please, please, President, we don't want any more electricity. We can't stand it. You'll be begging me, no more electricity, sir. We have enough. We have enough.
Just so you can always tell his tells as well. And you have to pick up, he's always lying, but often when he injects the sir into it, it's like it heightens it on an extra deranged plateau. Brett, Jordy, weird, huh?
extremely weird. That doesn't even begin to cover it. And, you know, we're at the point in the election cycle where a normal candidate, no matter how extreme they may have been during a primary, you hear the concept, it's time to pivot on to the center. Got to pivot onto the center. Donald Trump does not clearly does not know what that means. And when he does these events, he's never doing these events in order to expand his base. He's delivering the same kind of red meat to his weirdo base. And he's not ever expanding the voters. When you have, on the other hand, Kamala Harris meeting with all these different groups, diverse coalitions of people coming together to offer their support, Trump is doing the opposite. He's not being additive. And in fact, he's probably doing the exact opposite of that. And so it's just a really just bizarre thing to watch. And I think now that everybody is tuned in, all of these statements, which, don't get us wrong, have been weird the entire time we've been calling it out, they somehow feel even more strange and more bizarre, especially when contrasted with Kamala Harris, who could really deliver a message with such impact. And even, we were looking at the messages that are coming from Donald Trump's team. And we're seeing Donald Trump's team, this guy, Stephen Chung, who's like he is the head of communications for the Trump campaign. And he puts out these statements, which look like they're written by a crazy person. And I don't know how he thinks that these statements are helping at all, but it's like the statement when he when they were saying that Trump was dropping out of the debate, he was like, and the Barack Hussein Obama, and this and this name and that name. And you're like, this is just like, y'all are just a bunch of strange folks. It was funny watching them react to this weird attack has been quite interesting because they really take it, like I was saying earlier, they take much more offense to this than being called authoritarians or fascists or strongmen or any of that. This really hurts them on a deep level. And we'll get into more with JD Vance. Every day we're learning something new about this JD Vance guy. But we put together this meme at the MeidasTouch Network, which has gone like crazy viral as well, where they call Democrats and anyone pro-democracy every name in the book. You Marxist, socialist, pedo, communist, scumbag, Satanist, radical left vermin. And then the response by the pro-democracy people now is just, you're weird. And then they start crying. Like they can't, like that right there. They could dish it out, but they can't take it. And it's just really interesting to watch them crumble and panic as this momentum shifts and Kamala soars and Trump is still doing his old weird shtick.
No, Brett, you are so right. There's nothing that these MAGA Republicans hate more than being referred to as weird. And here's why. Because it's undeniably true. Like at the absolute minimum, they are weird. Like the entire MAGA wing of the party, which is also entirely too online, lives in this bubble where they've just decided that they're all alphas, that they're alpha males. This is what they call themselves. I'm not making it up. And here's the thing, referring to yourself as an alpha is like when someone gives themselves their own nickname. It's not how it works. Tell me this. What's alpha about attacking childless women? What's alpha about wanting to control a woman's body? What's alpha about calling someone a DEI hire? I'll tell you, nothing. And when you hold a mirror to people like the JD Vances and show them just how unpopular their policies and societal views are, what do? Brett, you had it exactly right. They say, look, the left, they're trying to cancel me. Here they go again. The left. No, JD, Trump, just because we're holding a mirror up to you and you don't like your own reflection, that's a you problem. That's a Republican Party problem. You have your views. These videos and statements that we put up here, they're not taken out of context. So keep on saying it with your whole chest. You're not alphas. You're weird.
Look, what alpha calls themselves an alpha? Like, it's people like JD Vance. And as I've said, like, I would feel bad for JD Vance if he wasn't hurting so many people with all of the things he's done and that he wants to do. He is a very confused and troubled kind of individual who doesn't really have an identity. He's changed his identity over and over again. He pretends to be this, he pretends to be that, and now he pretends to do this MAGA alpha. Watch him. It's like so pathetic because he's such a fraud and phony. He doesn't even execute it well. Maybe you could, in your own kind of MAGA bubble, defraud the MAGA, but when you try to move that to like independents and people who live outside of X and like Gab or whatever these social media things are that these right wingers use, or Truth Social, whatever the heck, people are like, what are you saying? What is your idea? Anyway, I want to talk more about Shady Vance. Who are you today, Shady Vance? Which Shady Vance is going to show up? There was also that moment where Fox even asked him, so what's your response to people calling you weird? He's like, I'm sorry, I don't know. We'll show you that. And then I want to talk about, look, the momentum's also shifting with Republicans for Vice President Kamala Harris. I mean, we're talking about the mayor of Mesa, Arizona, one of the most conservative cities in the United States. We're talking about the villages in Florida turning blue. They're out with a rally for Vice President Kamala Harris. We'll talk about all of this when we come back from a quick break. Want to remind everybody, though, about our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We don't have outside investors here on the MeidasTouch Network. We grow this organically. One of the ways we built it is through our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We're doing about 23 million views every 48 hours. That's more than Fox, MSNBC, CNN. For most of this past week, we've been number one on YouTube across all channels. We're number two right now, but the only channel that's beating us is the Olympic coverage right now is number one.
All right, I'll let that slide, but we got to get back on top.
Thanks to all of you for building it at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
Trade Coffee is changing the way you experience coffee at home. A lot of the coffee out there is dull, stale, and questionably sourced. Trade curates a wide variety of coffees from the best small batch specialty roasters in the US and then makes personalized recommendations based on what you like or want to try. The coffee is roasted to order and ships to you within 48 hours. From hot or iced, dark roast to decafs, or espressos to cold brew, Trade has it all. I've been a Trade customer for more than a few months now, and let me tell you, the quality of the coffee is outstanding. One of my favorites was a Honduras William Alvarado roast from Dune Coffee Roasters in Santa Barbara. It had these bright notes of dried fruit that really woke up my taste buds. The convenience of having freshly roasted coffee delivered to my door has made my mornings so much easier and more enjoyable. And you know, as the resident Meidas coffee geek, I would not put my stamp of approval on just any coffee service. Trade even has a new cold coffee subscription, which offers a rotating variety of the best coffees served over ice, curated by their team team of coffee experts. It's a great option to cool off the summer and stay caffeinated all year long. The personalized recommendations based on my quiz results have been spot on, making sure I always get coffee that suits my tastes. Get a free bag of coffee when you give Trade a try. Visit drinktrade.com/Meidas to subscribe. You'll get a free bag of coffee or more when you subscribe to one of their plans. And there's no risk. They guarantee you love your first coffee or they'll replace it. That's drinktrade.com/Meidas to receive a free bag of coffee. drinktrade.com/MEIDAS. Hey everyone, I want to share something that's really made a difference for me when it comes to enjoying a night out with friends. It's called ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on hitting the gym, enjoying a brunch, or just getting some important work done without worry. I'll be honest, I was a bit skeptical of ZBiotics at first, but then while hanging out with my friends at our favorite bar downtown, I decided to give it a try, and let me tell you, it really works. The first time I tried pre-alcohol was during a friend's wedding weekend. I had my first drink of the night, a delicious old-fashioned, by the way, right after taking ZBiotics. The next morning, I was up early, feeling great, and ready to join the rest of the wedding party for breakfast and activities. It was a total game changer. With vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions, there's so much going on this summer. Get the most out of your plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
Let's go. I love our sponsors, man. Trade Coffee is just unbelievable. Like, never lets me down. Just a great cup of coffee. Brett's got it right now. Let's go. B, you love your Trade, yeah? Oh, taking your sip.
Honestly, yeah. Let me enjoy my sip for a sec. One moment, please.
I get it.
It's
I get it.
Honestly the best. Every roast that I've received from Trade is A++++++. I've never been disappointed. Then, I'm always trying new stuff, and it's the best. Then you know that I am like the coffee snob of the group, and I would not say that for anyone.
It's very true. So links are in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use our code, use those links. And I also have to say, extra shout out here again to ZBiotics. You know, huge fan of the network. We're a huge fan of theirs. Let's show them some love, y'all.
One of the most searched things on Google right now is JD Vance and dolphins, because people are looking to see if JD Vance actually was searching women getting violated by dolphins and enjoying it. Make no mistake, fact check, true. JD Vance randomly posted woman gets violated by a dolphin and enjoys it. Maybe the internet was a mistake, and you can see in bold the search terms that JD Vance was using. Also, more pictures are emerging of JD Vance with hammers and sickles surfacing as well. Communist paraphernalia when JD Vance had one of his other personalities back in college. JD Vance is a very weird person. Monkey testicles. That's right. JD Vance invested in companies that burned monkey testicles. Some strange stuff. People also searching JD Vance and couch. And as Chelsea Handler says, look, I don't know. I mean, JD Vance is denying that he had sexual relations with those couches. But as Chelsea Handler says, she goes, I grew up in Jersey during the 80s. I know a bunch of people who had couches in their basement. That guy, I think, had sexual relations with couches. It was a very funny line by Chelsea Handler. But look, JD Vance in his current iteration, or his third, or third or fourth name that he's given. His name isn't J.D. Vance, right? I mean, if you go back and look at his yearbook picture, his name is actually James Hamill. He then experimented with 3 or 4 other names, came up with the name J.D. Vance because he thought it was part of his alpha personality, where he then starts posting, "The cat ladies, man. Them cat ladies must be stopped." That's what he kind of posts, things like that. And J.D. Vance himself goes, "J.D. Vance is weird." That's his own post. This is the one where he goes, "The cat ladies, man, the cat ladies must be." He's very invested in the cat ladies narrative. Yeah. And his constant publicly talking about how childless cat ladies are a big threat to democracy. That's part of J.D. Vance's latest vile persona. Let me just show you the original cat lady comments, just because I'm going to show you other missteps by J.D. Vance recently, but let me show you the original comments. By the way, unearthed by MeidasNews.com's editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski. So we were ready to go when Trump picked J.D. Vance. We were having an internal debate after all the Oppo research that we got on J.D. Vance. We're like, no way Trump could pick this guy. Like, if he does, we're like, we're going to have so much fun. We're like, he can't be that stupid. May I present to you Exhibit A.
Saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
So he makes a lot of statements like that. Meidas unearths it. People start sharing the clips. So Fox has to do damage control. So they put him on with Mr. Mackey from South Park, or Mr. Garrison. I'm not sure which one. It's Trey Gowdy, by the way. This also shows you the weirdness of this MAGA Republican Party. Former MAGA Republican Congress member. He was a weird dude. He was like the guy who led the Benghazi hearings, and like he was the original James Comer. And then Hillary Clinton showed up and just like destroyed the guy's career because he couldn't stand up to Hillary Clinton. Just give you a little background on who Trey Gowdy is. So Trey Gowdy has Vance on and then tries to give Vance an opportunity to like, okay, like I didn't mean what I said or whatever. And so so then J.D. Vance first is like, if you look what I said, they took it out of context. But then he basically doubles down on it. Watch what he says here. Here, play this clip.
Trey, and if you look at the full context of what I said, it's very clear the Democrats have tried to take this thing out of context and blow it out of proportion, which is what they always do, Trey, because they don't have an agenda to run on themselves.
Okay, so in what context are we talking about there, Shady? So then he goes on these shows, and here he thinks about maybe it's a good idea if we attack one of the most beloved people. We've already gone after Taylor Swift. MAGA Republicans attack the Swifties. They think that's a brilliant way to go. So the next move is let's attack Jennifer Aniston. Like the friends of friends, everybody grew up, everybody loves Jennifer Aniston.
Wow.
Let's attack
what incredible political instincts.
Wow. Jennifer Aniston, who doesn't get involved in politics. Let's make sure she gets involved in this race. Here, play this clip.
You have Hollywood celebrities saying, oh, well, J.D. Vance, what if your daughter suffered fertility problems? Well, first of all, that's disgusting because my daughter is 2 years old. And second of all, if she had fertility problems, as I said in that speech, I would try everything I could to try to help her because I believe families and babies are a good thing. That's the whole point, is if you believe families and babies are a good thing, you should be trying to promote life. You should try to promote the fact that we want to have a good family policy in this country. That is what's so profoundly wrong about where the Democrats have gone. And I think we have to fight back against this, Meg. And I think a lot of people, the media has been attacking me and this is how it goes. We cannot give up an inch on this.
All right, keep going. Don't give up an inch, but
he reminds me of
inch
like
on
when
this.
Zach Galifianakis does that bit, the between the two ferns bit, but he's not like, what is he talking about? Like, first of all, that's disgusting. My daughter is too. Like, is that like, what do you?
Disgusting because Jennifer Aniston says that she hopes that your daughter is able to have the rights to like travel to different states.
The
if she
fact,
wants
put it this
to.
way, though, the fact that his mind doesn't take that statement for what it is.
Yes.
You are the father of a daughter. Do you want to raise your daughter in a situation where women's rights are taken away? The fact that JD's mind goes to some weird pedo thing tells you, like, dude, you are a bizarre and weird. Like, that's where your mind. That's not what Jennifer Aniston's saying. What are you talking about?
And you're the guy who's trying to
weirdo.
ban IVF and put all this Project 2025 stuff in and prevent women from crossing state lines to get reproductive care. And you say, we just want to, I would help her. I would help her. Well, you're doing everything to torture her and to torture all the women across America who you keep hating on and saying despicable things about on a daily basis. That was a train wreck right there.
And by the way, even if you try to be like, okay, so what are you even talking about? Are you talking about child tax credits? Is that what you're all like? Are you try to articulate a policy here? Do you mean the most significant child tax credits in the history of the United States that were provided by, drumroll please, President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, that the Republicans voted against? Yeah, your party voted against the child tax credits that incentivized the thing that you're now saying that you care about in the most perverted and weird and odd terms. Your party voted against child tax credits. So, like, we can actually talk about the policy if we want to, but like,
you want to talk about policies that help families, because all your policies seem to put a lot of strain on families and kind of torture families. And it seems like there's another group of people who you oppose who actually want to help families get health care, help families get access to pre-K, help families get access to food and meals and help when they need it. And it seems like you're the one, JD, who is opposed to all of that stuff. So,
because look, politics is supposed to ultimately be an articulation of the policy that delivers things to people and helps people's lives. Like the pro-democracy community, which is now Democrats, for mainstream Republicans, not MAGA, and independents, like we view government as what are you delivering for the people? What are you adding? What is the value add? And let's debate the policies. The MAGA Republicans use government as what rights can we take away? How can we use government to be punitive and seek retribution and punish people that we don't like? And that's a very perverted, strange, dangerous, and weird view of government, which should be the exact opposite of what conservative is. So it's no wonder to me why we're starting to see actual conservative mayors, real Republicans, not MAGA, coming out in support of Vice President Kamala Harris, because while Vice President Kamala Harris is future looking and embodies some of the best of progressive policies, she's also more conservative in conserving institutions than MAGA, which wants to destroy everything and rip apart our democracy. I mean, John Giles, the mayor of Mesa, Arizona, 36th largest city in all of the United States, one of the most conservative in the United States of America. He goes, look, I'm a mayor, so my job is to make sure that the people who live in my city are getting things. And I look at President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris's record, and I look at Trump's. I look back and I say, where was our toilet paper 4 years ago? Where are 401ks today? Where are the infrastructure projects? Whoa, they're all happening. And this is what he wrote. John Giles, conservative mayor of Mesa, Arizona. Why, as a Republican mayor, I support Kamala Harris over Trump? Arizona Republicans like me can emulate the late Senator John McCain's motto of country first and beat back Trump and his threat to democracy. Since 2014, Mayor Giles writes, I have had the honor of being the mayor of Mesa, the nation's 36th largest city and one of the most conservative in America. Under Trump, American cities didn't get the support they deserved. Infrastructure Week was made into a joke. But under the Biden-Harris administration, Mesa has seen a historical federal funding for the Phoenix-Mesa Gateway Airport, along with investments to make sure our streets and public transit system benefit from modern technology. With the CHIPS Act, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden are delivering thousands of new jobs to Arizonans and helping us grow critical industries. We can choose a future for our children and grandchildren based on decency, respect, and morality, or succumb to the crudeness and vulgarity of Trump and J.D. Vance and the far-right agenda that they would champion. Well said. And that, to me, isn't a Republican or Democrat or independent. That is where we should all be as Americans. And the fact that MAGA opposes that tells you like all you need to know about MAGA.
Yeah, I think, policies, like, you almost have to push all policies aside in this election. It's a matter of our democracy. It's a matter of our freedoms. It's a matter of preserving the American experiment. And so, I'm glad that Kamala Harris has policies that we agree with and that are, very positive and are designed to help uplift Americans and uplift the working class and uplift families. But it's even so much beyond that. This is about what is quintessentially America. And so when we see somebody like the mayor, a Republican mayor of this conservative city in Arizona, come out and endorse Kamala Harris, it has a lot of weight. And I think we're in a unique situation right now where we can't be boxed into these different labels as liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, independent. We just got to be Americans against this fascist thing that has arisen in this country. And so the thing I love about someone like him coming out is, first off, it happened after a few days after last week. Jeff Duncan, who's the former lieutenant governor of Georgia, another Republican, came out and endorsed Kamala Harris as well. And all of these provide a permission structure, I would say, for other Republicans to jump aboard the Kamala train, if you will, because what happens is you have people who, probably grown up Republican their entire life, never voted for a Democrat. Maybe they did in one election, and they don't know if it's okay. And sometimes people need a little bit of kind of social proof to see others doing something, others like them doing something that says this is okay. You could be a conservative if you call yourself that and vote for Kamala Harris. That's actually the conservative thing to do. That's actually the American thing to do. So I think it's fantastic. I think that is a big endorsement, and I hope to see a lot more of that come from all ends of the political spectrum for all those reasons.
Couldn't agree more, Brett. I want to show you more of what Shady Vance has been saying lately as well, though. And one of the things when he was asked by Megyn Kelly about the backlash to his childless cat ladies attack, he thought it would be a good idea to apologize to the cats. He said, not to the women. He apologized to the cats if the cats were offended. Here, play this clip.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats. I've got nothing against dogs. I've got one dog at home, and I love him, Megyn. But look, this is not, people are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megyn, I'm sorry, it's true.
He just keeps making it worse. Here's the thing too. A lot of folks who maybe are not as in tune with like the depth of these views that people like J.D. Vance have, I want to say, like, they're common in the people in J.D. Vance's circle. It's not like he is even the only one. This is emblematic of MAGA really as a whole. And we did an article that we have on our website that shows many other MAGA people, including people like Charlie Kirk, including people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, making very similar comments, also using that kind of same language about cat ladies and single women and childless cat ladies, and how they do not deserve to have votes in America, and how they shouldn't have a say, and how they should listen to their husbands and do what their husbands tell them to do, and all this just incredibly backward stuff. That's why it's felt so comfortable saying that in the first place to someone like Tucker Carlson, who also espouses similar views like that. Those sorts of views have permeated in this quote unquote alpha culture that Jordy was speaking about earlier, and they want to go back to this kind of 1950s style America where a woman is supposed to just do what her husband tells her to, and it's just so incredibly offensive that this is kind of the mainstream belief in this MAGA movement. So, I think it's interesting now that they finally, the second they pop out of their bubble And these comments are now seen by the public at large. Now folks are like, holy crap, this is the stuff they believe. And that's why this weird label sticks, right? And that weird, it's defining of all these various acts. They're dangerous actions. They're not letting people travel across state lines. Their refusal to let people have IVF. All this stuff fits in this weird, the Hannibal Lecter. It all fits in this weird framing. And this cat lady stuff has really struck a chord. And we've seen now going across the country that this cat lady thing has been a real motivator. There have been, I'm sure you've all heard of these Zoom calls that are breaking records, hundreds of thousands of people on these Zoom calls every single day organizing for Kamala Harris. There's also been all this organization on the ground, and we'll speak in a little bit about what's going on in the villages in Florida, which quite frankly should have Trump absolutely terrified. But even in the villages in Florida, what are they putting on their golf cart in this community? They're putting on their golf cart, cat ladies fight back and things along that nature. And so it's really resonating because you don't piss off the women of America. It's just the most offensive thing. And it breaks through party lines. It breaks through political ideology because you're attacking people personally. By the way, we also have our cat ladies merch, Jay, which you did a great job with, which is absolutely crushing. And I got to say, if you want to get the Childless Cat Ladies merch, which is selling like crazy right now, and I think we are almost out of this batch. So if you want to get in, for the first shipment, you could go now to store.MeidasTouch.com, You can get one of these Childless Cat Lady shirts, which I think are the best. And we got a lot of other great merch to do with the launch of the Kamala Harris campaign.
No, I love those. They're going like crazy, and I love that essence of people once again using Republicans' own words against them. They're like, heck yeah, and they're just rallying behind it. It's like, what does I'm genuinely asking, what does Shady Vance mean when he says he was being sarcastic? He says, I'm clearly being sarcastic. He either A, doesn't know what sarcasm is, or he's B, just willfully ignorant, right? We played the statement. The audio wasn't manipulated or edited. We played before, we played after, like we played it. Where was the sarcasm?
I was being sarcastic, but also we need to double down on it.
And then he doubles down on it. And then the other thing too is, well, we also showed all of the other statements he's made rallying against cat ladies and women. Were you being sarcastic there as well? Or you say, yes, I am. Oh, and then I'm going to double down and say, no, I mean it. What do you stand for, Shady? What?
And here's what we've always said about MAGA. They stand for nothing. They fall for everything, which is why Donald Trump has captured the Republican Party. I want to take a quick break. We still got a lot to talk about when we return. Momentum. Vice President Kamala Harris calling out Donald Trump and saying, look, you may be unilaterally canceling the debate, but I'm showing up to ABC on September 10th. I'll debate an empty podium. More on that when we get back from our last quick break of the show. Hey, Midas Mighty. So a little while ago, we had the idea that we wanted to sell the best pro-democracy merchandise in the game for the MeidasTouch Network. And candidly, we had no idea where to even get started. That's why I'm so glad that we found Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million order stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, and sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. We use Shopify at store.MeidasTouch.com, and it has completely revolutionized our business. It allows us to easily manage our shop, view analytics, provide the best customer service, and streamline our entire online shopping experience from A to Z. We wouldn't be able to bring you all the products you know and love love without Shopify, and we can't speak highly enough about it. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US, and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds and Rothy's and Brooklinen and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way, like they were there for us here on the MeidasTouch Network. Because businesses that grow with Shopify, and we can attest to that. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Meidas. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Meidas to take your business to the next level today. Shopify.com/Meidas.
I've been trying to lead a heart-healthy lifestyle, but finding the energy to keep up with healthy changes like getting my steps in, it's been an uphill battle. We often think living a more heart-healthy life means making big, unsustainable changes. Well, with SuperBeets Heart Chews, you can get daily blood pressure support in just 2 tasty chews a day. And they even promote heart-healthy energy without the stimulants. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in SuperBeets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. My energy levels are higher than ever. Now, without typical dips from coffee and energy drinks, it's fantastic to support my blood pressure and still have the energy for more physical activity. It's a win-win. Double your potential with SuperBeets Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of SuperBeets Heart Chews on all bundles and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and use code MeidasTouch. That's getsuperbeets.com, code MeidasTouch. Let's go. Links in the description for our amazing sponsors. I didn't realize Shopify was even a sponsor of today's episode. It makes all the sense in the world. I'm happy they've been so helpful with all of the merch that we've been putting out.
Or.MeidasTouch.com.
Grabbing. So yeah, definitely check it out. Links in the description. Gotta love SuperBeets as well.
You know, one of the things that I'm looking at in the various political speeches that are taking place right now is what policies do you have? What are you talking about? What are you delivering for the American people? So I look at Vice President Kamala Harris's accomplishments with President Biden, and I see, well, America's the strongest economy in the world, nearly 16 million new jobs created, which is a record in American history, whereas Donald Trump, or as we call him here, Pervert Hoover, other than Herbert Hoover, the only president to lose jobs, as I've always said, ask yourself, where was your toilet paper years ago? Where is your 401k today? But we know the stock market doesn't always, it usually isn't necessarily the indicator of a, great economy. There are other important things like wages. Wages are up. Inflation is coming down. That soft landing that economists said would never happen, and they predicted a 100% chance of inflation, by the way, which was caused by Donald Trump adding $8 trillion to the debt. 30% of all debt in American history was accumulated by Donald Trump, also with his reckless printing of money and how it was handled due to the PPP program. Well, President Biden fixed it. I know the MAGA Republicans and corporate media wanted to attack the firefighter and not the arsonist, but President Biden buckled up, fixed it, and he did it in a way that was not weird and not annoying. He just did his job. And a lot of my frustration about the attacks was Biden did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he did it in a way that wasn't annoying and wasn't weird. But the corporate media wanted flash and pizzazz, and they wanted all of that, and they were constantly ageist with it. But the way he, in such a dignified way, passed the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, and the way she's taken that torch, respected his legacy, but put forward this future-focused vision, that to me is important. Also, when I think about the other metrics, the racial wealth gap, lowest in 20 years. Historic infrastructure investment, wherever you're watching this, you see the infrastructure projects going up. I guarantee you, no matter what city or town, because of the Infrastructure Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, there are projects creating jobs in your community. Because we know that because there's over 40,000 infrastructure projects right now because of the Infrastructure Act. Remember, Donald Trump promised Infrastructure Week is coming. Give me 2 more weeks. Remember, Donald Trump said a healthcare plan's coming. We have a new healthcare plan. 2 more weeks. Never did it because he lies about everything. Also, President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris expanded the Affordable Care Act. There's record health insurance coverage, lower prescription drug prices, the most significant climate law ever, the first major gun safety law in 30 years, the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, help for 1 million veterans exposed to toxins with the PACT Act. Violent crime is at a 50-year low, and border crossings are lower than when Trump left office. And the thing that MAGA Republicans try to attack President Biden for, President Biden tried to negotiate a bipartisan deal led by a conservative, James Lankford from Oklahoma, as real conservative, not MAGA, as real conservative as you get, almost teetering on MAGA, but he's not James Lankford. Republican, Oklahoma, negotiated the border bill. Biden endorsed it and supported it. And then we thought we were going to have a deal, but Trump said, you know what? No deal. I want to make sure that I order MAGA Mike Johnson in the House to kill this bill because I want to run on chaos at the border. So President Biden then had to issue an executive order, which couldn't do all the things the bipartisan legislation would have done. But nonetheless, it has significantly reduced the border crossings. But Trump blocked the bipartisan border deal. The same, because why? Because Trump wants to cause pain to Americans. And so just think about that out there, because I actually know we have a lot of conservatives and Republicans who watch that. Just think about it. Trump blocked the border bill put forward by the conservative Republican from Oklahoma, James Lankford, and then Trump bragged about it because Trump wanted to cause problems for America. The same way, in all caps, Donald Trump is posting today, OPEC nations are going all out to drive down oil prices in the hope that crazy Kamala Harris will win. Then they will really reap the rewards. She will be a disaster for the USA. What actually happened was President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris found a way to break the OPEC cartel. The cartel did what cartels want to do, price gouge. They wanted to make oil over $100 per barrel. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris figured out, well, okay, we're going to lower the price by tapping into our strategic reserves, and then we are going to replenish the reserves when oil goes to an all-time low, thus making a profit from when we're selling it and when we are buying it. And the billions of dollars were restored to our treasury using this brilliant market strategy. It was the most brilliant oil trade in world history, and it broke OPEC. They blinked, and they had to bring down their prices to be competitive with the United States, which is now the top oil producer in all of the world. At the same time, the Biden-Harris campaign has led climate change initiatives. So think about this. Trump trying to block the border deal. He's rooting against lower gas prices, lower price per barrel of oil. And Trump's been making posts threatening the Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve not to lower interest rates because Trump thinks that that would help Vice President Kamala Harris and hurt his election chances. Trump wants to keep interest rates up. Just think about those things. His tactics are quite literally to harm the United States of America. And then he goes and gives these speeches where, again, we showed you some of the earlier ones, Hannibal Lecter, he hits the golf ball. And here he talks about Pocahontas. I want you to watch this, where he keeps calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. Here, watch this.
The moment I'm sworn in, the persecution stops and the weaponization ends against your industry. And as long as I'm in the Oval Office, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, do you remember? Yes, I'm an Indian. Yes, she said, I'm an Indian. Why are you an Indian? You don't look like an Indian. No, my mother told me I have high cheekbones. Oh, that's why she was an Indian. So I named her Pocahontas.
What are you talking about? Why is this part of a stump speech? Why does this have anything to do? It is now compare that though to President Biden got an incredible applause when he was speaking in Austin. One of the things that President Biden was rolling out was his plan to reform the United States Supreme Court. Let me just show you a brief portion. You can compare all the deranged Trump stuff. Let me show you President Biden, what he said in Austin, Texas today. Play this clip.
I know I don't look it, but I served in the Senate for 36 years, including as chairman and ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. I've been told that I've overseen more Supreme Court nominations as senator, vice president, and president than anyone in history, anyone alive today, I should say. I have great respect for our institutions and the separation of powers laid out in our Constitution. But what's happening now is not consistent with that doctrine of separation of powers. Extremism is undermining the public confidence in the court's decisions. As soon as I came to office, I convened a bipartisan presidential commission on the Supreme Court of the United States, comprised of leading constitutional scholars, both liberal and conservative, to provide recommendations on potential reforms to the court. I've been careful in these deliberations because these are serious, serious decisions. In the face of increasing threats to American democratic institutions, I use the Commission's analysis, and today I'm calling for 3 bold reforms to restore trust and accountability to the court and our democracy. As the press shouted to me as I got off Air Force One, the Republican Speaker of the House said, whatever he proposes is dead on arrival. Well, I think his thinking is dead on arrival.
Normal, intelligent, reflecting the views of the American people. What President Biden was proposing is no more immunity for crimes that a former president commits while in office. Like, how does that even exist right now? That the United States, I can tell you because Trump appointed right-wing Supreme Court justices. But Biden says you can't get immunity if you commit crimes or like if you order the military to kill your political opponents. No immunity for that. Term limits for Supreme Court justices and a binding code of conduct for the Supreme Court. That is what Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans are saying is dead on arrival, and they will block and they will kill. These are things that would benefit the American people. And that's why we talked about it before. I think we've got some of the video, Brett, of in the villages of the community kind of coming out. Do we have that? Do we have it as B-roll, or should I call to the clip, Brett? I can't hear you, Brett.
Yeah, we'll play it as B-roll while you talk about it.
Okay, play it. Just show people as I'm talking over. For those who are listening on audio, you see this is the villages right here in Florida, an area that is traditionally conservative, kind of right wing, and you see the signs, cat ladies for Vice President Kamala Harris. We're not going back. And I think we see here the kind of older generation recognizing that they want to pass on a better world to future generations. And they recognize the threat that Donald Trump poses. And the fact that they're even out there in Trump country making that statement is a big, big statement as well. And, there are many people saying that Florida may now be in play as well. And I think that's an important point as well. Want to talk about this also. We talked about it before that Vice President Kamala Harris said, look, I'm going to show up at the debate on September 10th. Remember when Senator Ossoff, when he debated Chicken Perdue, we were calling him back then, and David Perdue didn't show up with an empty podium? Vice President Kamala Harris says, bet, I'm going to show up. You could be chicken, Donald Trump. You could be a coward. I'm showing up, and I'm going to let the American people know what our policies are. So see you later. That right there, though, is the exact energy that I'm just loving from her campaign. The confidence, the vision, and the future forward-looking vision. And here, by the way, is one of the VP hopefuls, Governor Josh Shapiro of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Here he is mocking Donald Trump, mocking these weirdos for being afraid to debate Vice President Kamala Harris. Here, watch this.
And you know how I know this? Because he's afraid to debate her now. Do you see that? And it's not just because she's a skilled debater and a courtroom prosecutor who knows how to make the case. He's afraid to debate her because he can't defend his record. He's afraid to debate her because she knows the truth about how he failed as a president when he had the keys to the White House 4 years ago.
That is that energy I love to see. And that's where, as we started off calling these MAGA Republicans weird, there's also so much hope and energy and positivity right now in the pro-democracy community, Brett.
Yeah, and this whole dynamic has shifted in such a big way. I mean, to see those images from the villages coming out to support Kamala Harris, it shows you that the whole game has changed, that this has been a seismic shift. And from the beginning, you know, Ben has really done a good job of breaking down Donald Trump's strategy in this election, which was to create this paradigm of strong versus weak. And that's what Donald Trump was running with this entire time. But in this past week, and yes, it's only been just a little over a week. I know every week feels like it's months or years. That has completely been reversed on its head. And Donald Trump looks weaker than ever, weirder than ever. And meanwhile, you have Kamala Harris looking strong, looking in charge, obviously way smarter than Donald Trump, outsmarting him every step of the way. The confidence that she has in challenging him and getting out there and fighting for what's right. Like, you're just seeing a completely different election take hold in a time when a lot of folks want hope. A lot of folks want that optimistic vision. And a lot of folks don't want to take the crap of these weirdos like Donald Trump and JD Vance. And so it's great to have, you know, not only Kamala Harris out there, but people like, you know, Governor Josh Shapiro and Gretchen Whitmer and Tim Walz and Andy Beshear and all these folks who are coming out now to support Kamala Harris, who are delivering these pointed, smart, snippy, effective messages that, quite frankly, most of the country agrees with beyond any sort of political party or ideology. Just about normal, just about the United States of America. And it's great to see that kind of start to take hold. We got, 100 days, a little under 100 days, I think, till this election. So every day's got to count. And I like to see that energy out there as we push towards this first finish line, I'll say, because the fight does not stop there. Jordy.
The momentum is real. And I'm so grateful for this entire Meidas Mighty community who continues to meet the moment every single day. After the RNC, I'll just let everyone in on a little secret. We've gained over 200,000 subscribers here at the MeidasTouch Network. And that's because there's a mass exodus occurring right now with corporate media, because people are frankly sick of their corporate money and their corporate interests. So what we here at the MeidasTouch Network do, we're going to remain unapologetically pro-democracy. And I'm so excited to continue to sprint through the finish line with everybody here. So please, one thing that you could do is subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Subscribe anywhere you listen to your audio podcast, to the MeidasTouch Podcast, the Legal AF Podcast, every podcast that we have on this network. Because like I said, y'all are meeting the moment, and we are so grateful for that.
Oh, I do want to say this also before we sign out. Let me just say we're having a premiere next Monday, so a week from today. It's going to be at 9:15 p.m. Eastern, 6:15 Pacific time, right here on our YouTube channel. That movie, Against All Enemies, and you'll see a little trailer right after the show ends. Against All Enemies, the documentary that was #1 on Apple TV and was such a success thanks to all you. We are going to do a free premiere for all of you. I know a lot of folks have said that they want to be able to watch for free, so we are going to play it for free on our YouTube channel, Against All Enemies. Watch the full award-winning documentary. I know you're going to love it if you haven't seen it. And if you did see it, I hope you watch it again. We'll have the chat open. You'll be able to chat with all the folks during the movie premiere. Let's make it a huge party. The link to Against All Enemies, to this free premiere, is in the description of this podcast, so you could check it out there. You could give it a thumbs up, set your notification, and get your popcorn ready, because this is going to be a fun premiere with all of you. I can't wait to watch this movie with you all next week.
So we've got a great after show planned for everybody. You may remember this episode to some of the MeidasTouch Network OGs. For some of the new subscribers, you may not remember this, but back April 8th, 2021, we did a whole episode. So 3+ years ago, the episode was called "The GOP is the hashtag Weird Party." And we broke down how weird they were. And our messaging has always been consistent on the weirdness, not to understate the dangers posed, but to also discuss this is some weird behavior. So I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that on the after show. Subscribe at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. It helps grow this independent media platform. We will continue to beat Fox and MSNBC and CNN. And when I say we, I'm referring to you. You were fed up. You were frustrated with corporate media. So you built this media network. You built this platform. You built the network you always wanted. This community is number one. Thank you all so much. You mean the world to us. We'll see you at the after show. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Meidas Mighty. Let's use our power well.